Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Insiders. If you'll notice, my co-host is not with me today. Sandy is a little bit under the weather. So for me, this is kind of like when the instructor pilot no longer gets in the airplane with you, and you've got to go fly that baby on your own. So hopefully I'll make Sandy proud today. And Sandy, get well. We miss you, and I'll look forward to our show next month, which is going to be a really good one. So anyhow, we're just going to do a little market update today. I want to introduce Michelle Beaty, who's been with us before here. Michelle is VP and Director of Marketing. She's also on my leadership team and also happens to be the longest tenured employee at Secured Title of Texas, right?
Yes.
Almost 10 years or at 10 years?
Just celebrated 9
there you go.
years
Rolling to
this
10.
month. Yes.
Excellent. Awesome. And then we're both really excited to introduce Rosanne Weston, who has just joined us as Director of Business Development. And Rosanne will be in our Plano office, and she'll be marketing across our footprint, as does Michelle, for both residential and commercial, and we'll visit a little bit about that as well. So we're just going to kind of talk a little bit about the market and what's going on out there. Sandy usually passes it off to me and kind of says, give me an update on what's happening in the marketplace, which I'll do. And then we'll talk a little bit about some of our speakers, and then we're going to get into talking a little bit about what we can do to help you grow your business in 2023, because certainly we're into a completely new atmosphere than what we started the year in and where we are now. Things have shifted dramatically, as we all know, so we want to visit a little bit about that as well. So with that, just kind of give you some highlights. We had a really good month in October for our commercial, particularly. We closed over $150 million in commercial transactions, and that makes us a little bit unique as being an independent title company and having both commercial and residential in our platform. That's really helped a lot with the residential being as it is. And we continue to also work through a process which I hope will result in us acquiring a title company in Houston that I'm very excited about, which will increase our platform substantially. So, but from your perspective, ladies, kind of give me any feedback. I don't think there's any mystery, but sort of what are we hearing from our clients, both in this quarter as well as kind of how they looking at 2023? Just kind of give me some feedback of what you've heard from the people that you're calling.
Yeah, I think they just are diving into doing some more lead generation because things shifted so quickly. And, it's kind of turned from a seller's market to a buyer's market. And so they've had to adjust. And some things that we're going to talk about today on while things are a little slower, on how to keep pressing forward and how to find the listings and how to keep the lead gen going. So when things do turn back to busy, they've stayed in front of their database and they've stayed relevant in front of their clients.
Yeah. Rosanne, any thoughts or comments related to that?
I totally agree with Michelle. We're having to help them pivot quickly.
That's a good word, yeah.
And come up with marketing campaigns going into the new year.
Well, and it's kind of an equalizing effect too, because as this has pivoted, the transactional balance has also pivoted. So we've kind of gotten back, thankfully, to seller pay, buyer pay. And I'm really glad to see that, because what concerned me the most when they were 50 backup contracts to the one contract is that there was an abandonment of some of the things that I think are important in a transaction, the least of which is an inspection being waived, and then on top of that is the home warranty being waived, which I'm just like, two of the worst things you could potentially have, regardless of whether the seller was willing to repair something or not. So when you take and, to the point, balance those out and look at interest rates in today's market versus where we were, and then take a look at some of the closing costs, it's not that far off in terms of transactional cost to close a transaction today. It's just the rate is higher.
Sure.
So,
right.
And days on market is kind of averaged out.
Yeah.
I mean, we were flying off the market, but now it's sitting on the market a little bit, but it's more average.
Yeah, I think the only thing that kind of confuses me a little bit is I see on occasion with Post and a realtor will say inventory's still low, but I track inventory daily, and I would think just the opposite. I think inventory has grown.
I would agree.
And I think we've got probably well over a 2-month supply out there in the marketplace. Now, the pricing side is not necessarily adjusted to that side, so that's going to be a little bit of the reality that sellers are going to have to take on as we go into the new world. And then I've talked a little bit about this side, and we have focused more on the interest rate environment than we have what's going to be the overall impact to the homeowner in the environment of increase in insurance and increases in taxes. And my concern is into the first quarter, because now we're in our famous world of October starts, taxes due and payable. And I'm worried about what the consequences are going to be when if you escrow your taxes and insurance as part of your payment, when the lender pays that, what's going to be the outcome of a new payment coupon, and who's going to have shock from that, and what's that going to do? I know from us resourcing now into the law firms, some of our contacts, we're getting indications that the default market is going to reappear. And if inflation stays, if unemployment begins to rise, I think we're going to get back to that type of environment, which frankly is a kind of a balance in a sense of what we've seen historically, with a portion of inventory being out there in the market that is what I refer to as REO side. So hopefully that won't be terribly impactful, but and right now I don't think it's present, but I am concerned about what that's going to look like in the future. So anyhow, all that being said, a couple of things that just, recapping, one of our objectives that we have of the show is to try to bring people in of knowledge. It's not an objective to get my business from them, but I want to bring the best of the industry forward. I was just kind of looking back on our podcast, which, by the way, those are posted out on our website, with securetitletx.com, and there we have the Insider podcast there. But I mean, my cast I've had in the recent months, Brian McCauley, a great lender, excellent. Brooks Kelly, and then from the broker side, it's been really interesting. I've had Mike Brody, Robbie Briggs was on with us, Mark Wolf, Lori Arnold, Jerry Moody at Properties. And so we've really had a really good guests that have given us a lot of insight. So if you missed any of those, I'd encourage you to go back to our website and you can watch any of those podcasts. There's a lot of really good nuggets in that.
And a lot still relevant to what's happening
Absolutely.
today.
Yeah.
I mean, go back to when you had Roddy from the foreclosures when,
Right. When it was,
COVID.
Yes.
And so we still have some of that rolling over too. So it's all still very relevant.
That's exactly right. And then I'm really excited about next month to kind of finish our year out. We're going to have Dick Dillingham as my guest. For those that have been around a long time, you'd have to be around a long time for that. That goes all the way back to Brody and Dillingham when I first knew those guys, and that's over 35 years ago. And Dick travels all over the country training under the Keller Williams brand, and so I'm really looking forward to having Dick on with us as a guest. So anyhow, well, let's visit a little bit about sort of what your strategic plan is coming into 2023. What are some of the tools that you want to reacquaint our audience with and our clients with that you think are kind of our top tools that we use in developing relationships with our clientele?
Sure. So I would say, how I mentioned earlier, how, we've kind of slowed down, obviously going into the holidays, but take advantage of this slowdown to really brand yourself and keep setting yourself up for success when things do pick back up, and remain relevant and in front of your database. And so we have a marketing platform that combines direct mail and social media that will really focus on helping the agent capturing leads. It has a really cool measurable feature. It will assign a specific QR code, and that system will allow the agent to track the actions and leads. So it's really, really helpful. It also has a large library of customizable real estate products, and it allows the agent to engage in prospect and securing listings, and just, like I said, remaining relevant to their database, whether that's sending a holiday card or, any type of seasonal pieces. It also, I was showing you yesterday, they have some market trend newsletters that you can send out quarterly. And so this platform comes up with all of the content, and you just put your, logo and headshot on it, and there you go. So, use your resources, and we have the resources to help you where you don't have to recreate the wheel. And that can be for whether it's a new agent, seasoned agent, luxury agent. This platform can be beneficial. It can produce thank you cards, business cards, postcards, door hangers, all kinds of stuff. So we'd love to show you that platform. I think it's really
And I
beneficial.
think one of the things that I want to put an emphasis on is getting together with us and having a consultative discussion.
Absolutely.
Because I think we could put things in front of a larger audience, if you will, but if you can get and sit down with us on a one-on-one, the objective,
pain
yeah, is to find out what is your mission for 2023? What are you going to be working on? And see how we might assist in that strategy side of it. Because I firmly believe that I've never had a discussion on a one-on-one basis that we didn't discover something about what they were working on or frustration they had, and it doesn't necessarily fall in the bundle of what we offer as much as it is what it is that they think strategically they need to be doing. So, Rosanne, what are your thoughts about the one-on-one type?
I love one-on-ones because I love to sit down and brainstorm with an agent and find their pain points and develop a drip campaign for the next year, whether it's monthly or it's quarterly, and help them set their year up for success.
Yeah. And I mean, that can be buyer and seller packets.
Yes, absolutely.
Open houses have come back.
Yeah, so we have fantastic open house kits that will really set you and your client up for success.
That's good. That's good. I think that the environment out there there's a lot of technology and a lot of things that all title companies offer out there. But if you don't embrace whatever you decide you're going to use,
Sure.
Right.
and become familiar with it and begin to use it as a tool
Put it into action.
and put it into action, then it's for naught. And there's probably more unused technology out there than there is used technology out there.
I would agree with that.
And I think that the agents have a tendency to potentially take I'll put it this way. It frustrates me when I see out on Facebook that an agent's posted a graphic associated with, the holiday side. Okay, I understand that part of it, but this is a moment in time in our space where we need to be educational. And when I say educational, not just to our clients, but they need to be educating their potential clients and their existing clients, and add value to that side, and really embrace talking to them about what's happening in the market and really getting an assessment of where they are. And I always highly encourage, if I had that database, I would think one of the biggest challenges when you're a realtor is, I've gone through my first round, happy holidays or happy new year, and now what's my follow-up going to be to have a valuable conversation? And I've suggested that should be about, the simple thing is about how are you doing as a family,
just a touch.
yourself, what's the impact that inflation is having on you, how are you looking at your home as your asset, where are you on your mortgage side, is there anything that you're concerned about your new mortgage payment, those type of things, to be very proactive and get a sense from them so that and I think doing that, they're going to confide in them.
Yeah, and I
their
think
circumstances.
having a realistic conversation about what their home is worth, and getting a home estimate, because that's shifted in the recent months. But whatever they pick, stay consistent with your marketing plan, and that's where the drip campaigns and things that we can help with and encourage is being consistent.
Yeah.
Same thing with us when we're marketing to agents, is we want to be consistent.
Absolutely.
So the moment that, there's a ton of real estate agents, but you have to be consistently in front of your database for them to remember you.
Right.
Even if they've had a good experience,
Right.
they need
Right.
to always stay in front of them.
The fortunes and the follow-up.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and my buddy who's not here, Sandy Hibbard, has Lyric Marketing, and Lyric does a fantastic job of working with agents on a strategic side, social media particularly, which I think is important. So Sandy would be one that would be that same approach with us. Sit down with us and Sandy, and let's have a consultative discussion and kind of see where we can help you map out a plan.
Right.
And she's as good as anybody I've seen in that category. So I would highly encourage reaching out to Sandy at Lyric Marketing and getting with her to try to get some meetings established. So let's talk a little bit about secured title. I've been here 2 years now. You've been here a lot longer than I have. But what I hoped to bring when I came into the company was to bring a different approach, if you will, and that is to not, my goal is not to be the largest, the biggest. My goal is to be the best. And so what I wanted to do is bring the infrastructure in place to support the escrow officers and you out in the field to that by adding Kerry Prysock as our general counsel, who I think is one of the best transactional attorneys out there in the marketplace. Keeping our examination aspects in-house and having good quality examiners, residential examiners. If you had a deal that you absolutely had to get timelines met, we'll beat anybody in the marketplace. I can say that with confidence.
100%. Yeah.
With that, and then making sure that we have the best in the business on the escrow side as well. So we made a transformation of sorts with the organization, and I think our team that we have today is substantial and strong, and hopefully those are things that you guys feel equal about when you're out there talking in the marketplace about
Absolutely.
about clients.
Most definitely. I mean, you've done a fantastic job in the 2 years, and we have a bright future with you as our president. But we talk about our marketing resources and our tools, but part of our tools is our escrow team and the experience that they bring. I don't think we have anybody on our team that has, less than 30 years of experience, especially on our commercial team. There's a lot of title companies that thrive in the residential but don't have a strong commercial, and we do have a very strong commercial team, and can turn title work around very quickly, which is unusual.
Right.
And that's important, is especially on land or things that could have some easement problems or the fence or some things that you want to look at when you get the listing. We can open title and start looking at those aspects and have a little problem solving with our attorney or with your closing team to resolve some of those to make the transaction go really smooth.
And I think when you say commercial, possibly if you're in residential, your ears might slightly close if you only sold residential. But in our category, we put land
Large land.
into that land deal because you're into meets and bounds, and it becomes a whole different game to that side. So we can help if somebody has the opportunity of a land listing, as an example. We can be of great assistance to help them understand some of the significant points about selling land as that side. If you're dealing with people, and we've seen this a lot up in northern Collin County, that are selling land or selling a building for that matter and want to defer the capital gains into another asset to buy, then we have a 1031 exchange company.
Yes.
Called Safe Harbor Exchange, and we're probably one of the we have the best fee, I'll call it that, in the industry.
Yeah, we're very competitive.
Very, very competitive in that side. So commercial can have a lot of different components to it that could overlay into the residential side of the business as well. But the main thing is to know that we've got that team and that resource there. And so it's sort of like anything else. The other thing I always talk about in the listing side, when you go into a listing, part of what I was referring to is you ask people about, kind of what's happened since you've been at the property. Forensically trying to determine, are there any issues? Because I think one of the bigger problems we have, I'd say 1 in 4 deals we close has some kind of title-related problem. And that problem does not surface until we issue the title commitment.
Yeah.
And now we're in contract.
Right.
We got timelines to that.
Yeah.
Whereas we might have had a little advanced knowledge, we probably could have been more helpful in shortening that timeline to make sure we got to the closing table. So I'm sure that's probably a difficult conversation perhaps to have in a listing agreement, but I would also bet that a lot of times people walk into a listing agreement that's not just like, oh, happy, I'm going to sell.
Right.
It could be they're going through a divorce, they just had a death, other circumstances that are going to have an impact to title, that they know that's the circumstance when they walk into the home for the listing. So having that conversation with them, getting any documentation that they may have available for us to review would be very helpful in that process as they move toward trying to go under contract and eliminate those issues up front and not make them a trailing issue, because there's nothing more frustrating for us to have to make a phone call saying we can't close. And I don't make that call very often because I'm determined that we can figure out a way.
Yeah.
I think that's probably one of our greater strengths is our ability to be forensic and understand a transaction. I get a lot of referrals from agents who have a transaction in another title company, and the requirements don't seem valid or concerning because their party can't perform at the request. And I found that 90% of the times we're able to get that transaction underwritten. Part of that reason is because we're an independent agent and we represent 5 title insurance underwriters. So we have that kind of options, if you will.
Sure.
And we run across an issue, we can run it through 5 traps to find out and get that thing insured. So anyhow, I think that's another piece of what we do is responsiveness, our expertise. And then I could probably pretty well say that our key people that are in the escrow side, us, Carrie, are available 24/7.
Oh, yeah,
You know,
always.
I always have philosophically that when 5 o'clock hits for us, that just simply means the phones are not ringing as much. And most people would go home at that time, but we know that our clients continue to drive on into
We
the
work
evening.
real estate hours.
We work real
I
estate
was
hours.
just gonna say, we work when you work.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Now, a lot of the times that's on the weekends. And so our cell phone numbers are on our business cards for a reason because we
Absolutely.
know you might run into questions.
Right.
Even if we're at a pool party.
Yes.
Or the golf course.
Yes.
Or, yeah, there's that.
But part of the listing is, we have a listing agreement or a listing checklist that has some of those key questions to ask. One of them is FIRPTA. We've seen a lot of foreign investment or foreign investors. And that's another little tool in our toolbox is that our closers are very well versed in FIRPTA or in dealing with a marriage and divorce. And we teach CE classes over those topics.
Yeah.
And so we can handle unique situations like
Right.
that because they are very delicate.
Well, and the other thing I like to do is if we know we have those kind of circumstances, I like to go ahead and run title. I'd like to see the survey.
Yes.
I'd like to just sort of get a feeling about whether we're going to have an issue or not, or is there anything else that's filed out there that the parties are not aware of?
Yeah, let's do our homework ahead of time.
Yeah, and all that is a little collaboration between us and our clients.
Sure.
To that, but I really think that's very helpful in dealing with some of the situations. I recently just went through and read a kind of an analysis from TAR about the real estate market 2022, and one of the things that kind of jumped out to me was I think they had 15 points, but the one was buyer and sellers use and want the help and expertise of a real estate agent, which I think is great. So there's statistically, nationally, 80% of buyers use a realtor. And their three key pegs to that were honesty, integrity, and knowledge. 86% of the sellers used a realtor. But the interesting thing is only 63% used an agent that they had worked with before.
Right.
That's
So
interesting.
that's a kind of a 20-something% gap there. It kind of calls the question. But again, it's sort of like you got to stay in contact,
Relevant.
right?
Even if they had a
Absolutely.
great experience with that
Exactly.
agent, but they have someone new that moves in next door.
Right.
And so that's
Well,
why it's really important to stay in front of your client.
They also say everyone knows at least 5 different real estate agents, right? So it's whoever's touching you last is going to win.
Well, in Collin County, I may know more than that because there are 10,500 licensed agents in Collin County. And I think 175 a month rolling in of new agents as well. So it's just,
crazy.
there's an overage
Yes.
in the marketplace. And, the seasoned agent will feel some of that angst when they get into a transaction where they don't have the same amount of experience because it can get confusing as you're negotiating through the contract. I know some of that's statistics because I'm proud to have been selected for this coming year to serve on the Budget and Finance Committee for the Collin County Association of Realtors. And so I'm getting the first time an opportunity to really see behind the curtain.
Behind the scenes, yeah.
And I can say that the association is in very good standing.
Sure.
They have a strategic plan to build a new facility there across from where they are. So they're going to have to do some fundraising on that side. But just the whole organization side, Mary Lighty just does an incredible job as the CEO.
Yes.
A strong board, good leadership. And so it's going to be fun to be a part of that. And then we're going to bring back the business development meetings to Plano.
Oh, good.
We're going to shift that a little bit, and we're going to do the first Thursday of each month from 3 to 5 o'clock, and finish it with a happy hour.
Oh,
fun.
So that's
everybody
gonna be
loves
fun.
that.
Yeah.
Free
So,
food. Get a
yeah.
great attendance.
So we're gonna kick off January with Mike Brody, and then Kelly Milligan is going to come in and do his State of the Union, and then I'll probably put together a top producer panel in March, and then we'll sort of work quarter by quarter through that. So if you're interested in listening audience, being a part of a sponsor of anything, we're going to be seeking sponsors out for our happy hours, but I'm excited to bring that back in because we always had incredible attendance.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Even that fact we did it at lunch time.
Yes.
I think we're going to get a greater attendance with this in an afternoon type setting, and then a good happy hour socializing,
Yeah, that'll be
socializing
fun.
afterward. Yeah, so that's going to be good.
Exciting.
So let's see what else have we got. Anything else I'm missing on tools that we are utilizing in our bucket?
Well, I think Rosanne and I are both well versed on our app, which can be accessed on our desktop too. But it's can run net sheets and closing costs, and it has social media, lead generation calculators. It has really fun like picture lenses for just listed or just sold or coming soon, and so. You teach classes on that?
Yes, I do
and
teach
you love
classes
that.
on it. And to add to that, we are happy to run net sheets on the weekend. Even if you have our app, but you're not comfortable making your own net sheet, call us, text us. We're happy to do it for you.
There you go.
Yeah.
Good. Well, I think it's we're about at a wrap, believe it or not, and so we've got about 5 minutes remaining. So what Sandy and I always do is sort of do our 3 takeaways from our podcast. So I think I'll start. So so anyhow, I think the takeaways are that one is that we're going to be into a different environment than we have been historically for several years. And so I really think it's going to take a different kind of strategy coming into 2023 on how you create transactions. We depend on our realtor family to create those transactions. We want to be supported to do that. But I think you're going to have to look at that a little different way. 2, this is probably a better time to be more forensic. And then when you're in a listing discussion, make sure you get as much information as you can associated with the history since they've owned that house. And then finally, Matt Aycock was one of my guests. Matt's a brilliant attorney, and he suggested, which I thought was a great idea, he said, don't forget about FHA and VA and assumable loans. And so those are kind of the variances that we got to think about. How do I generate the volume that I generated? Because I don't care how big of a producer you are. In my experience of 45 years, when the new year rolls, everyone goes into some form of anxiety and panic about
Ground
how
zero.
am I going to repeat the prior year. And I'm not sure how you repeat 2022 as we roll into 2023. But I think you can be successful. I think you're just going to have to embrace a different type of a strategy than historically you probably have. So
Yeah.
what are your thoughts?
I think you need to educate yourself and use your tools and resources. And when I say that, use your title company to your advantage. Let us sit down with you and identify your marketing plan and, like you said, your pain points and how you want to brand and market yourself and develop a campaign and stick to it and be consistent. But also use your tools, use your escrow officers. Call us if you have questions. That's what we're here for, is to help you. We're here to help you succeed, whether that's on the marketing side or the closing side. We have very experienced closing teams, and we want to help you be successful. So use us to your advantage.
Okay.
Absolutely. And piggybacking on our tools, you're going to have to pivot and hold more open houses. And we have a fantastic open house kit, and use us for our buyer and seller packets. And sit down with us. We want to help you. And that's creating marketing campaigns, drip campaigns. We're here. Call us anytime.
We're your friends. And
Absolutely. We
call
want
us just to chat. Call us just to
Yeah.
let us know how you're doing. we empathize with the challenges that are out there. And sometimes you just need a good friend to talk to, and we want to be that good friend. So anyhow, that's a wrap for this session. Sandy, I hope I did okay.
Me too.
Yeah. And I miss you and love you, and I look forward to being with you in December when we bring Dick Dillingham in. And everybody have a great upcoming weekend. And hey, tomorrow we roll into December 1st, and it's already into Christmas trees and happy holidays. So that's a wrap. Thank you, everybody. Ciao.
Thank you.